everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D campaign number 2 of Black Ink and Blue Blood. When we last left off, the party
It's not in the chat, like it's not popping up in the chat that the stream started.
Oh, it always takes a minute. The party arrived at the old Gyogran ruined town of Sunspot, where they found a series of deserters, which they quickly dealt with, and a large mechanical construct, which the party also dealt with after some deliberation on their strategy to go about it. Eventually, solving a puzzle that required being of elvish heritage, the party found their way underground as a mysterious tunnel opened up containing technology more advanced than anything they've seen, voices that seem to emerge from nowhere, metal tubes that take you up and down, and finally, as they found themselves going down a large metallic corridor and settled down for rest, being told by one of these automated voices that they would be arriving at the mysterious city of Edict within the next couple days, the party was accosted by two uniformed officers calling themselves Peacekeepers. The two took the party's weapons, but said that if they are to cooperate peacefully, that they will do everything they can to negotiate for the party's safe return to the surface, if that is what they wish. With that, you guys settle in for a rest. Is there anything in particular anyone wants to do during the long rest, or are you guys just content to get your rest and go?
Caleb is just gonna get his sleepy sleep.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some sleep too.
Okay.
So, before I do anything, since I only need 4 hours, is there like lighting or is it really dark?
Yeah, there's fluorescent lighting all the way down the hallway. Kind of that sort of hospital waiting room ambience.
Oh, gross. I didn't need that. Anyway,
Sorry.
That's okay.
Not that bad.
No, I mean, I spent 2 weeks in a hospital. I don't need it.
I know how it is.
So for me, I'm going to sit down for a little while with my books. First with some of the medical books, and then some of my father's books until I get sleepy, and then I will sleep for 4 hours.
Okay. All right. If nobody else has anything, Cadet Neon, you and your commanding officer trade off taking watches. Captain Voter simply like standing at attention, watching both directions of the hallway, and nothing seems to disturb the party. As time passes, although this deep underground with no change to the lighting, it's a bit of a hard sell whether any time is passing at all or how much. You guys are able to get a long rest. And as you all begin to awaken, the masked officer with his hands in his pockets stands blocking the hallway going forward. Everyone ready to go?
Yes, sir.
And I pack up my books and dust myself off. Let's go.
I just imagine like Caleb he's just up, he's dressed, but like his hair is all messed up, and he's just
Lucina's fighting the urge to like mess with him. She knows he don't like it.
All right.
Basically, he's not very good at waking up.
Yeah, he's not a morning person. That's valid. Okay.
He just sounds like a zombie.
All right. Officer Neon, or rather Cadet Neon, taking your place in the back. Captain Voter leads the way forward, and with your group surrounded on all sides and this little narrow space
And then,
by these peacekeepers, you all start walking. Uh, is there anything any of you would like to do or say as you continue all of your footsteps kind of echoing throughout the metallic halls?
How long have you been down here? I'm talking to the officer in front.
He kind of turns his head over his shoulder, and you can't see his eyes behind the mask, but you imagine he's kind of glancing at you out of the corner of his eye, and just, me in particular, you mean?
Yes.
He kind of stops, and you almost get the impression he hasn't like thought about it, like just like wasn't really expecting that sort of question, but eventually he says, getting close to 40 years now.
Oh, it's been some time then. Do you know who
Quite.
that is? And I kind of gesture my head to Gil.
He glances and gives a nod. Yes, of course. Like I said, I recognize the authority he once possessed, although even if he still possessed it, it no longer holds sway over me. And you see he pulls the sleeve of his coat up, and you see the branding of a Gyogran deserter on his arm.
Listen, I am with you. Fuck the Gyograns, okay? I don't even... I'm just mostly curious, to be honest.
The question isn't intrusive. I'm just answering it.
what did he ask? I'm sorry, I was messing with the stream, getting it set up to how I'd like to view it.
It's all good. Lucian was asking how long this officer has been
Yeah, I
down.
heard that.
And
They brought up the Gyograns.
basically, he revealed that he's been down here for close to 40 years and has the branding of a deserter from Gyogr and does know who Gil is, but even if he was still a colonel, doesn't respect his authority being a deserter.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, none of us respect him, so, you know.
Yeah, okay. All right, there won't be any more times where I'll need to ask that. Because now I have to stand on it.
It's all good. The officer continues to walk and says, I was alive before this city was built, but I heard the rumors and thought I'd come to investigate, and they proved to be true.
I've heard the rumors myself. I didn't even... I couldn't even fathom that it might be true. This is very interesting to me. It's all like fairy tales, you know?
Well, that's how we like to keep it. This place is meant to be built by deserters for deserters. While other folks do live down here, and you see him kind of look over his shoulder and nod to Neon in the back, it's not as common as those simply looking for a refuge from a society that no longer agrees with them.
So you left Gyogr, which is like military, and then you became military.
You hear a kind of somewhat raspy from under the mask. It seems like the mask kind of makes his laughs more into wheezes as he says, you're misunderstanding the problem, boy. Gyogr is a military, yes, but no longer the powerhouse they used to be. They're weak. The general's weak. And we are strong.
You have no idea how weak that general is.
Wonder how good Caleb's learning of history has been, because this sounds like exactly the kind of things that lead to very bad things.
I think we maybe have some information. You said you're going to take us to a council, no?
It's less a council and more I'm just taking you to my boss. But
Would it be a history check to see how well Caleb was taught history?
Well, yes, but to answer the question you're actually asking, that would be more just up to your character's train of thought to like arrive at that conclusion. Like, it wouldn't be difficult to extrapolate that extremists don't lead to good stuff.
No, I was going to ask him a question.
The question I think the point I'm trying to say is I think maybe we have some information that your superiors might be interested in.
Yes, you did mention that. Like I said, if you don't want to repeat the story twice, you can save it for when we get there. Oh, and you had something to say, ex-colonel?
Yes, I was just going to ask. So, like everyone else, I've heard of this place, but other than safe refuge, what exactly do y'all stand for?
He kind of writes his posture a bit. And Neon, you've seen this enough to know that he's basically going into reciting the script mode, so to speak. And he says, Gyoger suffered losses because they're weak. The general is undisciplined, paranoid, and is afraid, more concerned with presenting strength than possessing it. And we stand for the opposite. I'm sure you've heard the phrase get thrown around, talk big, carry a big stick.
Yes.
We stand for, I suppose, the opposite. Keep to yourself, but have an even bigger stick than everyone else.
I like this.
We're also a bit more traditional, so to speak.
Wait, traditional how?
He gestures to the metal halls and the lights and says, I don't think I need to be the one to explain to you that we didn't build this ourselves.
How did it get built? This is all very advanced.
We found what the general's been looking for. Ancient civilizations, long before any of us were born, who built great things, greater than any of us have ever achieved. And whenever we were left to wander the world without command or orders to follow, we found it. And we intend to keep it. And whenever power naturally transitions, as it always does, only then will we emerge to claim what's ours.
That's very interesting. I mean, are you guys interested in anything that is going upstairs?
Not us. The Peacekeepers are purely to maintain the order of the troops of Tredu. But there's a few more surface-minded elves down here. I'm sure they're going to want to make contact with you almost immediately once you're allowed out of the Peacekeeper headquarters, so be prepared for that. They're a interesting bunch.
Radicals?
Okay.
Or
I don't
who
know
aren't
if
interesting these days.
I don't know if radicals is the word I use. They're more just odd. It's very
well,
unusual for any of our troops to have that much of an interest in the goings-on of the surface.
well, there's a lot going on, and that's, like I said, when we get there, I will happily explain everything.
Everything.
Much appreciated, ma'am.
If you've been down here for so long, then how do you know you knew me?
I've heard your family name, although I can safely say I've never met you personally. Our countries are a bit too far apart, and I typically prefer to keep to myself, stick to my own goings-ons. But I've heard the name get thrown around. Your family are scholars, are they not?
Yeah, something like that. My father and mother are dead, so it's just me now.
My condolences.
Thank you.
Well, and her brother.
Shh. My brother is black sheep.
You can't see their expression, but you do see Voter give kind of a nod.
He's not a very good person, and trying to sort things out about him, that's neither here nor there. You don't really have to worry about him. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you think after what we tell you.
I don't suppose I need to be the one to explain to you the concept of anything you say can and will be used against you.
No, I mean nothing. It doesn't bother me. I don't have anything to hide.
As long as he's not a threat to us, it's not a concern to us.
Well, he's a threat to me, so I don't know if he's a threat to you. I mean, he's pretty powerful, but I don't think he knows where I am unless he's figured out how to do that.
There's kind of a pause before he finally speaks up. Well, pass the information to my superior if you think it's worthy of our concern. Otherwise, just try not to draw their attention here if you can avoid it. Like I said, I'd really rather not have to wipe your memories before sending you back to the surface if we can avoid it.
I would be appreciative of you not wiping my memory either. I quite like my memory.
Don't we all?
I have nothing to remember.
He's just empty-brained anyway, so don't mind him.
You see the officer kind of glance to you, Gil, and say, something you'd rather avoid or something you've misplaced?
Bit of both.
Well, I won't pry. Same circumstances as the miss. Just watch what you say, but do be sure to share anything pertinent.
There's a lot of important things I think that we need to discuss. Like you said, we will wait for the superiors if you are just, guardsmen.
There are a lot of interesting information that we could share.
The officer falls silent, just nodding at the two of you before continuing to walk, hands in his pockets. And after a moment, he does speak up again and say, I never got to finish earlier. While we do have our ambitions for what Gyoga could become if they were to remember the discipline they're supposed to have, it's not just that. It wasn't just elves who built places like this. And a few of us have found little bits and pieces we like and formed a bit of a melting pot, so to speak. After all, any gestures towards, if I recall correctly, Neon, you should have the head of the security construct.
Yes.
He gives a nod towards Neon, who is still piloting their massive quadrupedal machine. Things like that, and the machine you fought upstairs don't get built overnight. We've found a few things useful and repurposed it.
Very interesting. I'm very interested to learn about it. I don't know. I don't know as much as I'd like to know.
What civilizations have you found stuff from?
The officer kind of gives a bit of a shrug and says, I'm more of a security guard, as the ma'am says, than a historian, but from what I've been able to pick up through training and hearsay, there's several different ones we've found bits and pieces of that we've incorporated into ourselves, sometimes literally. And you see he kind of rubs a hand against the side of his head and turns towards, and you guys look, and you see you had initially just kind of sort of almost mentally autopiloted to assume that the mask was strapped to his head, but as you look, you actually see metallic wiring connecting the mask directly into the skin of his face.
Oh, wow. Oh. Does that hurt?
Wasn't pleasant, but you make the sacrifices you need to make to have the advantages you need.
I can agree to that.
That reminds me of somebody I know.
The officer gives a nod and glancing to you, Caleb. But each of us found little bits and pieces that we found more fond than others. We here in Edict prefer to emulate the ways of several ancient empires, most of which the names have been forgotten to time. But from what we've been able to ascertain, some of our neighbors prefer the disciplined and militaristic ways of the Atlanteans. Others prefer the doctrined and strategic ways of the Minotians. And a little bit of other things.
That thing, though, this construct said that it was trying to protect the city from Atlanteans, but I've not heard or anything about Atlanteans since I was a child.
Well, that's intentional. A lot of what they used to be has faded into fairy tales and what we found down here. Cadet, if I recall correctly from what you told me, it appears that that was simply leftover programming that reawakened as it took damage from the sunlight up above.
Seems to be that way. Not quite sure.
We'll have to look into the exact cause, but I imagine decades of standing out in the burning sun probably was not great for the electronics.
I
I'd
mean,
imagine
with
no.
You would have
cryogens.
switched them out sometimes.
The officer gives a bit of a shrug and says, "I'm an officer, not a technician. I don't get to give orders." And
Much longer until we end up where we're supposed to be going, because this is a very long haul.
you hear the voter give another like chuckle before saying, "It should only be another couple hours. This is actually another security mechanism, believe it or not. If anyone were to find their way down here by pure chance, it's very unlikely they could mentally handle a totally uninterrupted walk in darkness and solitude."
I was going to say, you think whatever place, if they're so great, built this, they would have made a faster way to get down these halls.
They did, but as I said, it's a added security measure. The only times we go up to the surface are for supply runs, so it's not as if those people won't know how to get back or that how much time will pass. But intruders don't have that luxury. So anyone who got down here by sheer luck, such as all of you, would have no idea where exactly to go, what exactly they'll find, or how long it will take to find it.
Are you sure this is the only way in?
This is one of a very small number, but all have the same security measures.
Very interesting.
If nobody else has anything. Kara, you're good. You're muted, so if you've been talking, I apologize. I will shoot them.
I'm good, sorry.
Did you have anything you wanted to say? Again, you were muted, so I didn't want you to get left behind.
I mean, a dark and long hallway is comfy.
And what's your story, Cadet?
Well, I wasn't born here.
I don't think that's a thing that you find often.
No, not quite. I'm sorry, I'm nervous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do something to make you nervous? I'm sorry.
No, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this, but this is my my exam to become a captain.
Oh
Man,
my nerves are shot.
Well, I'll be sure to be on my best behavior for you.
Dang.
Why?
I had a very cruel thought.
Oh no, Zephyr, don't you be a dick.
Hey, you're not. You don't know what's going on in my
Yeah,
head
you
yet.
don't. You don't know that.
You don't know what's going on.
You can't read
Did
Zephyr's
you
mind.
do you just immediately think to sabotage it just because you know it's important
No,
to Neon?
like right before he was like, he said that. I was thinking, man, while he's talking to her, I could steal my weapons back. While he's distracted, I'm gonna steal my weapons. So I was like,
God, wouldn't that have sucked if, like, what, literally as he's saying that, Zephyr's just digging through the stuff to get his weapons back.
All right.
Like, just in the background, this is my exam, so I hope it goes well.
The
Yeah,
fucking
sure hope nothing bad happens.
Well, it'd be sure be embarrassing if the suspects escaped custody and picked my pockets while they were at it.
Man, wouldn't that suck?
Wouldn't that just be a dilemma?
So, how much y'all get paid?
You see the officer kind of looks over his shoulder and you can't quite see it, but you can see the like cheeks turn up slightly, kind of giving the impression of a smirk. It's pretty handsome pay, I won't lie, but it's not anything that the folks upstairs would consider valuable.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
I was going to ask you, what is your monetary system like down here?
You see the officer reach into the pocket of his coat and pull what just appears to be a simple slab of metal, but as they touch the bottom of it, whoosh, the screen lights up, and you see just various completely alien to you symbols. You can recognize some elvish text, but that's about it. As they speak up, kind of glancing over it. You're very curious, aren't you? But
Well, I am a scholar.
I suppose that's fair, but it's not as if this sort of thing is classified. If you're a threat to us, then the information will be deleted from your head anyway. And if you're not, then it's something you're free to know, especially since at that point you would be welcome to stay down here for a while if that were to suit your interests. But we've moved past the need for physical money. So for us, it's purely digital currency. Or I suppose you don't know what that means. Think of it more as the idea of value rather than actual valuable metals.
So to say
What's
like a
the point
credit.
of that?
He looks to you, Lucian, and gives a nod. Something like that. And glancing to you, Caleb, you see again the cheeks kind of turn up very slightly. Well, what's the point of any sort of monetary system?
Well, it gives structure and it gives a economic system.
Yeah, and it's pieces of gold. It's like valuable.
You see the officer gives a bit of a shrug. It's not really. My pay is great, but not quite to the have philosophical debates with the suspects high. But and he nods to you, Lucian. She sort of has the right idea. It's the sort of a sort of structural system that simply works better for us than a metal that would not have any particular value to us aside from what was arbitrarily assigned to it. But rest assured,
Gold.
we do take into account the needs of surface dwellers the few times they come down here. So if you are free to leave the headquarters, then we will happily convert the physical money you have into digital currency so that you are free to spend money down here as needed.
I'm very interested to see what kind of weaponry and all kinds of things. I'm sure you have all kinds of books too. Oh man, I would love to see your books.
Sounds like a ripoff.
This sounds like a ripoff.
Well, you're free to find an archaic trader who will take what you currently have.
Wait, archaic trader?
A bit of both.
That is just. This is interesting to anybody else.
No.
Well, I find that
See
very
what
interesting.
Joe read.
It's just numbers.
Yes, but it's credit. Like you don't have to
Credits?
actually have money. You have credit to who you are, and I just think it's very interesting.
Please wipe her memory.
You can go
Well,
as far as you want.
all you have to do is plead guilty then.
I mean, you can
I'm
also
not
delete as
pleading
much as you
guilty.
want.
I don't even know what I'm pleading guilty for.
Being you.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I plead guilty for being here, but like I
No,
didn't do
being
anything
you.
wrong.
I didn't say being
For-
here. I said being.
For being me, I'm not going to say sorry for that.
Can I ask you a question?
For me?
Kills.
Do you all actually enjoy each other's company?
No.
Then
Well,
why?
maybe this one. I like Caro, and I like
Raccoon.
Raccoon. Caleb is growing on me. It's like a little fungus.
You all just seem to be having a terrible time with each other. Why do you hang out?
Well,
Life's greatest mysteries.
well, I think it just started like small, and now we're kind of stuck together because like we all have experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Oh, what was
I
that
think
thing
we're
that
just
we've
kinda
all
stuck.
experienced?
Circumstances are forcing us to have to work together for now.
What was the thing
Yes.
that put us like that we all experienced, right? What was it?
It was being the Scarcone Corps getting captured by them. And do you remember why we got captured by them?
Yes, I do. Okay.
What do you think? Y'all betrayed us and sold us out.
Well, that was beginning of it.
Neon, you and your captain just kind of share a glance to each other as the group immediately descends into arguing and blaming each other.
It happens often.
You get used to it. But it's a wonderful group if you really take the time to get to know us.
Well, except for this one, and she points to Gil.
I have an asshole.
I have yet to find a single redeeming moment for you.
Oh, you're all not gonna last long down here.
You're all very mean to each other.
Honestly, like I think the most unifying thing in this party is thinking that Gil is an asshole.
Yes, absolutely.
I think even Gil
for you all.
is an asshole.
Yeah, I'm an asshole, but I do us all good in the fight. So they keep me around.
You would be dead if it wasn't for the rest of us.
So would y'all.
Okay, but the Tibadron boys and Caro basically saved our asses.
So did I.
Okay, but you cannot. I don't care where you come from, Gil. I don't care who you are. I don't care about.
Well, he did break us out of that container.
This is true. Okay, I take it back. There is one redeemable fact.
I also saved your life from the Icarus.
And I saved yours.
Yes, exactly.
So this is a teamwork effort. You don't just be like, oh, I saved your life, so now you have to be nice to me. No, that's not how it works.
I never said that.
You literally just gave me a panic attack like 2 hours ago.
That's pretty mean.
I had no idea.
I don't know if I believe that.
He's sincere.
I mean,
I still don't know if I believe that.
No idea.
Do you roll to see if he's lying?
Should I roll to see if he's lying?
Roll insight.
I feel like it's like up to you if you want to check
and
that.
Insight check.
And Gil, are you lying?
Nope.
Test.
All right.
He actually has full ignorance.
But yeah,
all right.
Doesn't know about your
That is
fire.
an 18.
He seems to be forthright.
Yeah, like none of us knew about it until you mentioned it. Or until you had a panic attack.
It just seems very convenient that you quote unquote don't know these things.
I don't know a lot of things.
Well, finally he
This is
admits
true.
Neon, you can see the captain put a finger to his ear, and while the motion seems innocuous to the rest of you, Neon, you can recognize the distinct motion of muting his earpiece.
Neon starts laughing just over his speaker. just absolutely dying with laughter.
At least he finally admits it.
I never said I was smart.
I just walk.
No argument.
I feel like we bother everyone we run into.
Yes, they love us.
I like Caro, I like Raccoon, and I'm Caleb. I'm getting to like you.
Well, I like Raccoon. I like Zephyr. I'm okay with Caleb.
How can you like Zephyr?
He's awesome.
No, he's not awesome.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay, no, I take it back. He did do some cool things. He killed the guy.
He killed the
Alright.
guy.
I will say, Neon, you are increasingly. You have never been exposed to something like this. The Peacekeepers enforce a sense of camaraderie in their agents. It is one of their highest tenets to take care of and respect your own. So this is the first time you've really been exposed to a group so dysfunctional.
Oh no.
Boy, it seems this team is definitely in need of some team.
Team is in need of a team.
I mean, it is mostly just Gil.
Okay, I take it back. I'm sorry, Zephyr. You did do some cool things when we were fighting.
Well,
It's just Gil and his inability to be a decent human or decent elf being.
I said I was sorry.
well, I do enjoy seeing y'all argue and bicker, but I have noticed that we all have something we can contribute. Gil is a good beat shield. I guess.
This actually makes Lucian laugh.
He's good at taking hits.
But
I think that's what he means.
You're good at. He thinks for a bit.
Who's he talking to?
Lucian. I guess.
Lucian just crosses her arms.
I guess knowing things.
She's good at knowing things and
that
talking
is-
us out of situations.
I guess that is a compliment.
Well, talking us out of situations that me, you, or someone else in the party got us into.
My brother is good at many other things, like
Killing.
that is a very big part of the. But yeah, Raccoon.
Oh, he's good at drinking.
That is a new talent he has acquired, it seems. I think, what does Raccoon do?
She's good at music, entertainment,
Here's the bar.
and good drinks.
I am very good at those things, yes.
That was basically
Lucifer!
Kishi.
Lucian,
Caro
I
is
will
a
add
good hunter.
yeah, Caro's a good hunter. She's very good at being a sharpshooter, and Raccoon is good at being a moral compass. She can, sometimes she can see things that we can't. Say nice things about each other.
Clearly.
I like how he just admitted that we have killed people.
Yeah, so.
Well, every single person here has killed someone. including the peacekeepers and deserters.
Well, I mean,
Sometimes you have to add
the question
defense.
has the fox killed anyone?
Hmm.
But
Hey, Neon, have
Did
you
you come
killed
here
anyone?
because you didn't like
It's a
okay,
loaded
I know
question.
this is super personal, I know. But like did you come down here because like you were really tired of like being called names up there?
No.
Oh. It was just a guess, I don't know.
Well.
Can you
But
please stop trying to pry?
Sorry.
Fair enough.
I'm just very nosy.
Oh yeah, she.
I like to know things.
Very nosy.
I like to
Yes.
know things. So sue me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is suing
I
a thing in this
realized.
timeline, Matthew?
Hmm?
Is suing a thing in this timeline?
Not in the traditional sense, given that court cases tend to be absent a jury and tend to jump straight to the execution.
Wait, don't execute him yet. I need my money.
I realized.
Too late.
I realized, Zephyr, you and I have never really talked.
Well, I mean, we never really had a reason to.
This is true. But you're so quiet.
Well,
What goes on?
Well, I mean, I could say the same about you.
True. I just like listening.
Yes, it is fun to hear them bicker and go at each other, but yeah. Seems like we're about to need the full attention for what's about to happen.
Yes, yes.
All right. With the Peacekeeper escort, you guys continue through the halls. Hours pass.
Finally shutting up.
Hours pass. Like any campaign where the DM can sit back and just chill while the party role plays is a good campaign. Doesn't happen often. I take my blessings where I can get them.
But it is mostly Gil.
Yeah, and then the blame game immediately resumes.
I mean, Zephyr's doing better.
I mean, debatable.
Gil has been the same.
Debatable.
It was gotten better. In some regards.
In maybe some very,
Character development.
very, very small regards.
As you guys continue through the hall, eventually you arrive at another much larger now circular room, but this one there are no lights. Those of you without dark vision can't really see well, but you know you're able to just stay with the group and at least not get lost. But those of you with dark vision see that you're in this massive semicircle room with what appears to be a massive set of those same doors that had greeted you about halfway down the tunnel that had led into that tube of sorts. And the one light those of you without dark vision can see is off to the right. Another one of those green panels that appear to be meant to scan for elvish DNA. And the Peacekeeper stops all of you and holds up a hand. Stay put, just a moment. And walks across the room. You can hear his boots against the metal floor. As he approaches the panel, pulls back the sleeve of his coat to place his hand against it. You see the light brighten before going out, and finally, and light immediately begins to streak as the doors begin to open, as the Peacekeeper walks back across the semicircle room to get to the rest of you, as light begins to flood into the chamber, as they put their hands in their pockets, standing alongside you, Neon, behind the rest of you, as they say, well, I don't get to say it too often, so I suppose I'll take my chance. Welcome to Edict. And as the doors are opening, you hear a familiar, feminine, automated voice. Welcome to Edict. As the doors open, basically
the
these
voice is back.
as these almost like airplane hangar doors begin to open, and you all almost take an instinctual step back and an inward breath as you find sprawling before you this. It clearly is a city, but like it's not a city like any of you have ever seen. There's a small sort of barrier between this chamber and the rest of it. But from what you can see, you see these towering, dark gray and black. They look like houses, but they tower into the sky like miles into the air. You see bright lights, and you hear all of these just strange and foreign sounds of technology from all echoing all over. As you see stretching above a dark ceiling, but despite being in the pitch black underground, this place is illuminated by the artificial lights of the city. And Officer Voter steps forward to say, now there's going to need to be a bit of negotiation. Let me do the talking, or Cadet Neon if I cannot. Don't get yourselves in any trouble with people who don't know the situation as well as the two of us do.
I look
Yes,
at
sir.
Gil.
Lucian, as you immediately throw a look to Gil, you're surprised to find him already complying, and Zephyr, you see Lucian's attention turn to you.
My eyes narrow.
What? I can behave.
I'm looking at Zephyr.
He's looking at me. You know what? I narrow back.
In front of you, you see the metal gives way to what appears to be simple natural dirt and gravel. As you see this, just again, the design is foreign, but you see what we in real life would recognize as a barbed wire fence blocking off 2 layers of it, with a simple hut between the 2 layers with gates on either side. And as Officer Voter and Cadet Neon guide all of you forward, you step past the metallic floor, and the doors begin to shut behind all of you as Officer Voter wraps his knuckles against the chain link of the fence, creating a kind of rattling sound as you hear some like sounds of activity from the hut as the door opens, and you see a pair of elves, long blonde hair, both of them wrapped up in braids. They appear to be somewhat on the muscular side for elves, sort of something akin to Gil's physique, although it appears to not be as well taken care of, like as if they had been very physically fit at one point, but then kind of lost it over time. And as you see these 2 heads, you see they appear to be identical. And they kind of nod to each other. And the door slams shut, but you can hear some rustling and activity before the door reopens, and you see the 2 of them step out. Very tall, close to Gil's height, but not quite. And slung over their shoulders, you see a weapon that looks akin to the firearms you're all familiar with, but it appears to be 2 barrels side by side as opposed to 1. And what surprises you more is as they both step out, each twin appears to be missing an arm, but that arm has been replaced with a mechanical prosthetic. A very nice, well-fitting one that, like, if it wasn't for the color and visible technology implemented, would be indistinguishable from a regular elvish arm. The twin stepping in front appears to be missing their left, and the one behind him missing his right. Um, and as the two of them step towards the gate, they kind of look Captain Voter up and down, who simply just gives them like a cold stare in response. And finally, the one on the left speaks up. You know the drill. And Neon, you hear your captain kind of give a sigh. Yes, I know. And he pulls what appears to be a sack of coins, which the fact that this place typically uses digital currency, it's very odd that he appears to be carrying this, as he gives a nod to the two of them. He turns back and does a quick head count. 6 prisoners and 1 animal being taken to the Peacekeeper headquarters, 1 captain and 1 cadet. And the one on the right kind of looks all of you over and then looks back to him and holds out their hand. The one on the left opens the gate up and Voter simply places the sack of coins into the elf's waiting hands and says, now stay out of the way. And the one on the right kind of gives a grin. Is that any way to talk to us? And Voter just kind of gives him a cold stare. It is now. I have work to do. And you see the 3 of them just kind of stare each other down before finally you see Voter's neck kind of twitch a little bit, and finally, give my regards to your mother. And finally, they both give a smile, and at the same time, both speak, there we go. And the one on the right holding the money heads back towards the hut as the one on the left begins to open the second gate and patting Voter on the shoulder condescendingly with his mechanical arm as the way into the city has now been opened, as Voter steps aside and gestures to all of you. After you. I wouldn't put it past the twins to get up to any funny business. And you see the remaining twin raises an eyebrow. Oh, you really think that little of us? Yes, I do.
Lucian just kind of laughs at the irony.
Your kids?
He glances to you. Oh, thankfully, no. I'll explain on the way. And you see the...
like, I thought you said you don't use gold.
I said I don't, and the people who are supposed to live in this city don't. Again, I'll explain on the way. And you see the remaining twin looks to all of you as each of you speak up with interest and glances back to Voter before glancing back to all of you. You're all new here, aren't you?
That just gave us away, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
I flip him a gold to say,
Just out of curiosity, which one is older?
Do you say that in character?
Mm-hmm. I'm
Gil,
older by 3 minutes.
Gil, the mechanical hand catches the gold coin you flick to him as he flashes you a smile, and they kind of stare at you for a second, Lucian, before the smile widens a bit, and he nods towards the cabin. My brother, by 2 minutes.
I mean, technically, that's not how.
My brother is younger by 3.
He gives a smile. Oh, it's always nice to see more like us down here. Feel free to come pay me a visit, love.
I really like that accent, Matthew.
I do. But also, I more just do whatever's in character. And they step aside and gesture for all of you. Oh, have to pass word along that we have strangers down here. It's not too often it happens.
About.
Well, maybe give us a half-hour head start, huh?
10 minutes.
15 and we got a deal.
You see-
what are we talking about?
Gil's negotiating for whatever these twins' agendas are to give you guys a head start before they start doing whatever it is they want to do. And Gil, you see him initially go to argue, but then he starts walking the gold coin you flicked him along his metallic fingers, and finally gives a nod. 15, and closes his fist around the coin and says, "Enjoy the city."
Attaboy.
You just knocked it down to 10.
And Voter kind of starts gesturing, like kind of seeming to want to get you guys through the gates in a hurry.
I'll go through the gates. I'll say,
Very
You know
curious.
listen, I think I like it here.
To comfort Garrow at all this uncomfortable life.
Yeah, Caro and Garo, both of you are deeply uncomfortable as you guys step through the gate. Again, the sensation is unfamiliar to all of you except for Neon, who's used to it. But to give you guys a real life perspective on it, you're basically in the equivalent of downtown Manhattan. There's that kind of ashy, smoky smell to the air. There's constant noise all around you. Bright lights.
That of JonTron like going outside and coughing all the time.
Yeah, like Lucian's just starting to cough. Like, what is that smell?
That, ma'am, is industry.
That's the smell of home.
It's food.
My home. My home smells like sage and lavender.
Don't worry, you'll get used to it, and with luck, you won't have to anyway. He closes the gate and locks it, and starts kind of ushering all of you guys forward as he takes his position at the lead of the group so that you all do not get lost. As you can immediately tell, with how identical all the buildings look and not being familiar with this place, you guys could get lost easily if you were to separate from the Peacekeepers at this point.
Really close.
And Voters quiet for a second before looking back to you, Lucian. You said you were curious about something, ma'am?
Well, quite a bit of things, really, but you know, I'm just curious about those two, the twins.
He kind of, like, you see the mask crinkle up a little bit as he's quiet for a second before he speaks up. The Tillian brothers, they work for the family, and unfortunately, with everything going on in Lower Edict, it's difficult for the Peacekeepers to maintain order, so the people have started creating order of their own.
They do not seem like they should be creating any kind of order.
So they're like a local militia.
That's a good way to look at it, yes. He kind of looks around before glancing back at all of you and says, "You'll keep my secrets if I keep yours."
Of course.
So they said, why did they form the militia again? I'm sorry. It's so bad making you have to repeat yourself.
He explained that the Peacekeepers struggle to maintain order in Lower Edict, and thus the people have started creating their own form of order.
Is that why they put up the strange spiky metal swirls?
Oh no, that's supposed to be there. Another bit of a security measure, but the Peacekeepers either can't or refuse to spare the officers to man it, so some of the locals took to doing it themselves in exchange for a bit of extra from those who pass through.
Seems fair.
Hence
That's why.
money.
Yes, that's why they prefer to deal in physical currency, as they'll be getting business from surface traders coming down here, and they need something that they can actually use on the surface to
Yes.
negotiate. And you see him put the negotiate in air quotes.
Are they just bandits?
In a sense, a bit more organized than your typical highwaymen, though. They all answer to their mother.
Well, I hope that those bandits that y'all knew about upstairs weren't with them.
Just a minute. Whose mother? The twins?
Well, the mother to the twins and anyone who's willing to get their legs broken to prove their loyalty. But that's just what they call her, mother.
It's interesting. What is her real name?
He is quiet for a second before saying, telling you that would put you in danger. That is unfortunately classified. Even Cadet Neon is not allowed to have that information.
No, I mean, I just find it interesting because there is something very similar in this context. Will you be present at the negotiation with your superiors?
Yes, as will the cadet.
Okay, great. Because I think you're gonna find this very interesting.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Lucian?
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
That's a first.
For once, they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, when it comes to theories.
Yep.
Is there any further questions? I'm happy to answer whatever to make you all feel a bit more at ease.
No, I'm ready to meet your superiors, to be honest.
And then I might be interested in some shopping.
Well, if we're allowed to.
Oh, of course.
All in good time. I just don't want you all heading into that meeting with your nerves frayed and accidentally letting more slip than you're supposed to.
Well, I already have plans on what I'm going to say, so I
That's
don't
good.
usually want to slip up.
And Lucian, because I mean they may not know one of the terms, but should I give a demonstration when the time comes, so they know what to be on the lookout?
I'm gonna scratch the back of my head and look to the others.
You do know those guys are like right there, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What
They
do you
don't-
guys think?
I don't know what we're talking about, so oh.
Do you think that it is important for them to know, or to demonstrate it at least?
If you want to get shot,
Well, I mean, who knows?
I don't think a demonstration. I don't think a demonstration is necessary, Gil. However, I do think that telling them is necessary.
Yeah, we could just simply show them our blood, right? That'd be a demonstration.
But then they might kill us.
be careful about what we say at first. Just focus on the issue that they're concerned with for now.
I mean, what will be
And
the
if we
problem?
clear that up, then we can worry about explaining other issues
Absolutely.
they should be concerned about.
Absolutely.
How about why don't we just be fully truthful and just show them that, you know, we are facing a problem ourselves, you know?
Maybe they can cure us.
Possibly.
No, I don't think that this is something even technology can heal.
Maybe something.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We won't know until we try.
That's true.
Alright.
Looking at my notes.
We still don't even know where they're aligned. For all we know, their leader could be the leader of everything.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Is that
they
it
were
sounds
mentioned.
it sounds very suspicious that she goes by mother, and I'm not gonna go there right now. Let's just get to the
We
superior.
should see where this place where this place gets more of an idea of this place before
Yeah,
we
I
start
want to get to
telling them all
the
about
superiors. I want to get to the superiors, and I want to see what kind of things that we can come up with.
During this whole thing, what is officers seeming to react to it? How's he react?
If he is hearing and processing what you're saying, he doesn't show it. He's simply leading the way down the. You're on a sort of elevated stone walkway separating between two much lower elevated walkways. And as you guys get deeper into the city from the outskirts, you find yourselves in just the thick of crowds of elves.
Never seen so many elves in one place.
And then you've never been to Wicket. Does it remind me of home?
It has the same vibe in terms of the population, but you get the impression it's not necessarily that there's more people outright. It's just that the people tend to crowd more. You see that the people are like very clustered and like tightly together. And as you guys continue down the walkway, Neon and Voter keeping you guys from straying off the beaten path. As elves go against the way you're going and just have to like skirt to the side to walk past you, Lucian, you kind of cringe a little bit as you see an elf passing you by who glances at you, and initially their face seems normal, but then you see one of their eyes do that same kind of zooming in and out effect.
Nope.
And you feel Raccoon tug on your leg, and you all look and see another elf examining what appears to be meat from the surface world, and kind of sniffing at it a bit before they open their mouth, and you see their mouth is full of almost metallic shark teeth as they bite into it. And as you look, you see more and more. Almost every elf.
Fucking cyberpunk up in this shit.
Yes, it is. You see almost every elf you pass seems to have some sort of technological enhancement or augmentation to them.
I would have thought Deus Ex.
Like, you ever seen the footage of the game?
I would have thought of Deus Ex, since that's actually out.
Yeah, Dr. Watson would have a field day here.
So I'm gonna ask it's a lieutenant.
No, yeah, he's the captain or a captain of the Peacekeepers.
So I'm gonna ask him. So how do you go about getting some of these nice manuscripts I've been sent?
That depends. Are you looking for the means you're actually supposed to use, or the means that I should only tell you off the book?
Very informative.
I'm not quite sure. I don't want to get in too much trouble, but I'm looking for something better.
He gives a kind of look around and says, "We'll discuss it when we get upstairs. It's not safe to discuss it here."
Okay, gotcha.
Besides, like I said, if my superior decides that you're safe to allow to stay here, then you're free to stay here. You're not prisoners at that point. And Neon or I would be happy to.
Cyberpunk was originally a tabletop role-playing game.
And we would be happy to direct you to a place that can provide such enhancements. Although I warn, they can be prohibitively expensive.
Maybe I'll.
I don't want any. I don't know why anyone would stick stuff in them like that.
Well, it comes in handy, as we know of a certain someone can. It seems as though he can see through quite anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it has its handiness. Just problem is that's not something.
You can see like Lucian just kind of like turning in on herself right now.
Either way, to each their own.
She looks very uncomfortable.
Eventually, he leads you through quite a lot of this just walkway as you pass by like increasingly dense groups of elves before eventually.
Entirely elves?
That you've seen so far, although you can make a perception check if you want to look for other stuff.
All right, I haven't done enough rolls today, so you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be trash. It's gonna be a dirty 20.
All right.
Dirty,
Looking-
filthy river 20.
Looking around, you do see, while the bulk is certainly elves, you do definitely get the impression they're the majority. You do see, glancing around, a few notable exceptions. You see a couple humans that blend in among them easily, but still noticeably different. You do see the occasional dwarf. And what catches all of your eyes, but Caleb, you spot it first, is as you guys are heading up the street, getting deeper into the city now, you see a familiar light going down the street, and a familiar as you see another construct identical to the one you fought on the surface, patrolling down the street, and as it
Presumably this one functions better.
yeah. And sure enough, you see this one turn its head towards Voter, and the light flickers, and it recites in what you all know now to be Undercommon. But you all at least know that it's giving its usual spiel. And the captain holds up a hand.
The other species also seem to be like very heavily augmented.
Yeah, like I said, pretty much everyone you're passing generally has an augmentation of some kind, but how major it is varies. Like, you've seen some where it appears to be something as simple as like a directly implanted hearing aid or throat box, but some have much more complicated ones that are more and more intrusive, but presumably confer more and more benefit. It's not entirely universal, but it seems to be very common. And you get the impression the bulk of them are likely not necessary. But you see Captain Voter almost like casually hold up a hand, give a salute, and respond in Undercommon to the machine. The light flickers and turns blue, and it gives you all a friendly wave before continuing on its way.
Just imagine like the Bastion wave.
Yeah, it's. I imagine I was picturing it more kind of like the Wally wave.
Yeah, I just kind of wave back.
As you wave back, the construct kind of leans forward and waves even more enthusiastically.
Just wave.
I was either imagining like the Bastion wave or like how the sniper waves, the robot sniper waves in TF2.
That's closer, yeah. But yes, so you all continue on.
Like, you ever played BioShock, Matthew?
No.
Yes.
Good game.
It's almost like what would they call again? The big like guys with the.
Oh, the Big Daddies.
Yeah, Big Daddies.
Yeah, it's almost like those guys.
Their design was part of the inspiration. I just never played BioShock, but I knew of the design and the concept. That's why they have the diving helmet. Yeah, still. Continuing on. You guys gradually, while you get the impression that if the lights were to shut off for any reason, this place would be as pitch black as you'd expect from the underground. Looking up, you all can see that there's almost like a flat metallic ceiling to this place. But as Voter and Neon lead you deeper in, you find yourselves gradually approaching what almost seems to be a tube, a massive building-sized one, connecting this metallic ceiling to the floor. And as you all approach it, the buildings kind of form an almost respective circle around it as you're all led to the center of the city, and are led by Voter down a large, very formal-looking walkway, almost giving off the vibe of like a throne room of sorts. As they approach, and sure enough, the a slightly bigger than the one you had run into in the tunnel, but smaller than the massive one leading into the city itself. You see another handprint scan door, which Voter promptly activates, and the door slides open, and you all find yourselves looking into what appears to be a much bigger version of the elevator you had been in before. The color's much more muted and dark, but still seeming to serve the same function. As
Can I ask something?
Go for it.
Those scanners, do they only let elves in?
Generally, yes.
What if one of the admittedly few but still around non-elves need to use one of these?
There's a pause, and make me an insight check if you don't mind.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
Interesting. Hang on, I'm totally not pulling up my character sheet again. Okay. That's gonna be an 8.
His expression is difficult to read, and his hands are in his pockets, but after a moment, he gives a very slow shrug and simply says, "That's their problem to figure out, not mine."
Interesting.
All right, come on. The superiors are upstairs, and this is the only way up, unless you feel like walking.
Yep, I get in. Question, is there music?
Not yet, but last time it didn't start until you started moving, so.
Are we all gonna be startled again by it going up and down?
Quite possibly. But at least this time you can kind of infer that, like, you know, you're stepping in a big tube, and he says you're going up, so. As you all step in, Robot Gil returns.
Robot Gil has
The
returned.
slow-mo robot.
I robot.
Neon and Voter step in last as Voter shuts the doors. And eventually a single dim brown light illuminates the room, as there's a small pause before finally you feel that familiar like stomach quease.
Nope.
As you all
The
start
thing just
going
has
up.
onto whatever she can.
Are there rails in this elevator?
On the sides there are.
I find one
Caleb
in that
like
hole.
grabs the rails as it starts
Yeah.
moving.
Neon, you and Voter just kind of glance to each other, almost a sort of quiet exchange of humor, like, because they're not used to it, but you are.
Bill's just gonna stand there unfazed. Like, this is new.
I don't like it.
And Caro, you feel Garrow kind of like lay on the ground just after going up and down in elevators and being in the middle of what is essentially Manhattan. Garrow almost looks nauseous as they just lounge on the ground sickly.
No.
And they make like the little groans.
Yeah, basically.
Carol leans down and is just, I know. Giving him pets.
Is Hero resistant to the...
Yeah, it's not bare skin contact because fur, so.
Are they gonna have slimy fur?
Eventually. This one's much quicker. It appears to rise much faster, and it doesn't seem to have to go as deep as the last one did. Eventually, the doors open, and you all step out, and you all take very cautious breaths because you're expecting the same like funk as the previous area, only to be greeted with clean air. You all step out and find it still has the same artificial lighting, but you almost get the impression you're back on the surface. But as you look up, you see that the ceiling of this massive, incredibly large cavern that this city is built in, the ceiling is coated with diamonds and crystals, and as the lights reflect off of them, it almost gives the illusion of sunlight. you have this beautiful crystalline blue ceiling that imitates a sky stretching above you. Some of the buildings reflected off of them. And while the buildings down below were that kind of dull gray and black color, these ones are all that bright silvery gray, very pretty to look at and appealing. And you can
I'm
see.
guessing this is Upper District.
Welcome to Upper Edict. This is where my superiors reside, along with those who can afford it.
Surprise, surprise.
Some things just don't change, Gil.
Hey.
Even with money that doesn't exist, it's still like this.
But you know, it was kind of obvious, since all we saw were elves. It seems as though elves have a problem with stuff like that.
Yeah, are there do they have also people who walk around up here, or?
Yeah, looking around, you do see it's a lot less crowded, but you do see.
Can I make the same perception check to see what the makeup of the crowd is?
Go for it. And I'll give you advantage since you're looking. I know what you're looking for, so it's easier to find something more specific.
Okay, that'll be 16 in total.
Looking around, you are not surprised. You do not see a single non-elf in Upper Edict.
Oh,
at least not visibly.
Caleb will just say aloud, so by find their own way, it means they don't use it.
Captain Voter is just silent and eventually says, "Follow me."
Okay.
As you guys walk, you find that while plants cannot grow down here, at least in the traditional sense without sunlight, you do see that there's actually gardens, almost imitating a sort of like Central Park type area, but with mushrooms instead of trees and flowers. And it's still pretty in its own way.
I wonder if they taste good.
The vast majority of them are edible, but I wouldn't recommend it. Most of these are owned by someone. As you all walk, the silvery, well-lit buildings and the blue sky and the clean air really do a much easier number on your eyes and noses. And while Garrow still seems uncomfortable in an area like this, they do visibly relax a bit and just kind of fall into a much lighter step behind you, Caro. As you all go, you are eventually brought to what appears to be a large circular silvery building, sort of ovular, but with a rectangular sides jutting off. And you see this very elaborate mushroom garden stretching in front of it as Voter steps forward towards a wrought iron fencing that he opens the gate of and gestures for you all to follow as he looks up and Neon, you of course recognize this as the Peacekeeper headquarters. There is the large garden off to the side. You guys just see what looks to be open spaces, but you can see a few long, narrow buildings, which Neon you would know to be the bunkers where the officers typically reside.
Rats.
Basically, yeah. And it appears to be a large, luxurious, and well-kept area. As Voter steps up the stairs leading up into the building and glances back at all of you and says, "I know all of this has been a lot to take in very quickly. Are you all ready?"
Yes.
I guess so.
Let's do it.
I assume.
What about you, miss? He looks to you, Caro. You're not looking well.
Yeah, well, I lived my whole life in the swamps of Perugia, so I'm not Used to this.
Mm. You'll adapt with time, hopefully. And as I said, hopefully that won't be a requirement anyway. All right, follow me. Stay close. Don't wander off. And he steps inside. And you can see him kind of glance over his shoulder to you, Neon, and kind of does a very simple, like almost casual hand gesture, which you know to mean basically not full stand down, but basically like you can relax. Like, as you know, you're in base now, and the party is surrounded by cops.
And does that change anything?
It should,
It should.
but is it not? Because your Zephyr's going to decide to just go batshit
Yeah.
insane.
Yep.
Don't you just want to go ape shit?
You guys are led further into this building. As you walk, you're all kind of startled as the ground is very soft beneath your feet, and you look down to
Like
see
a shag carpet.
it's not actually carpet. It's more of that kind of foam material. Almost kind of has a bounce to it as you guys step on it. And here you're kind of sheltered from the noise of the outside city as the insulated walls protect you. But there's still that kind of casual din as looking around, you all appear to be in what appears to be a lobby, as you see an elf manning a counter to your right, and to your left you see what appears to be a simple like relaxation area with a table and some chairs set up, and several machines that you can't identify the function of, but you see them like it seems like everyone's kind of their attention immediately turns to the captain and they smile, but then their glances turn to you and they kind of tilt their heads, and you can tell that immediately you're catching people's attention and interest. As they kind of you see the two elves sitting at the table kind of look to each other and raise an eyebrow, and they don't respond.
Kind of turn in on myself again.
I like this floor. What is it?
I don't know the name of the material, but it's quite comfortable and quite expensive.
Dang.
I'm going to guess that everything up here is expensive and possibly more than it needs to be.
Like you wouldn't believe.
Voter kind of gives a nod to Neon and approaches the counter, and Voter taps a finger on the and you it's unlike the kind of wooden thunking of the Ogden tavern counter. This is just that kind of of fingernails on metal, as the female elf manning the counter leans forward, as Voter says, I need to speak with the commissioner. We have some high priority suspects. And the woman gives a smile, and all of you.
Wait, I heard a sound.
Yeah, Qua accidentally switched chats. You good?
Mhm.
Okay. You see,
It really
you all.
accidentally hit my trackpad.
That's okay. You all look to the woman, and all of you just kind of like almost internally smirk as you see the woman visibly give a blush as she gives a nod. Of course, Captain. I'll let him know you're coming.
The second character in a row that has something like this.
Smooth with the ladies, Captain.
You see he almost looks more irritated than anything and just kind of shakes his head. And the woman reaches under the counter, and none of you can see what she's doing, but she
Not a gun.
but she steeples her hand and gives a smile to the captain. He knows to expect you, Captain. Thank you, miss. And he looks like he's going to say more, but then just kind of awkwardly retreats and looks to all of you and says, all right, come on.
All right, I follow.
You all are
Kind of
led.
follows, but kind of bouncy.
And Garo, you can see Garo as they walk. They don't bounce, but they kind of almost dig into the foam with their claws a little bit, kind of testing how resistant it is.
Okay, now there's going to be claw marks in the foam.
Nice, isn't it, Gal?
Garo gives a happy sort of that like quiet yowl and like rubs up against your back.
It's almost like moss, but it's bouncy.
Garo kind of gives a shake of the head and starts kind of like not full on jumping, but like just kind of lightly shifting their weight to almost confirm what you're saying. You're all led through increasingly narrow hallways. Eventually, the foam gives way to what appear to be squares of a sort of not quite metal, a little more warm and less unfeeling, but nonetheless artificial, what we would recognize as tile, as you all head through more areas of the headquarters. You find yourself going through what appears to be a large eating area for the Peacekeepers. You can see several completely unfamiliar places serving food to just a massive array of elves, all wearing the Peacekeeper uniform that Neon and Captain Voter are wearing. And as Voter and Neon pass, like several tables all give like waves and shouts in Elvish to the captain, who just gives them a respectful nod but otherwise ignores them. It seems like he gets a lot of attention but isn't super into it.
No. Is there anything like specific they're saying, or
Make a perception check. There's a lot of general din going on, so it's a bit hard to pick out what
Let's
they're
see,
saying, but
perception. 22?
It's not really anything that catches your attention. It's just basically like, "Hey, Captain!" So it seems like everyone knows him and is pretty friendly with him, but he's polite, but just kind of brushes them off. Doesn't seem super into socializing. Whether that's due to being on business or simply a discomfort with it is hard to tell.
Okay.
But eventually, you all arrive at yet another elevator.
I love these things.
I'm just gonna like go to the side and like if there's something I can hold on to.
Yeah, there's railings in this one. And
railings and just hold up.
Voter kind of steeples his fingers and says, "I apologize for the discomfort. Don't worry, this is the last one you'll need to take before discussing things with my superior. And depending on what conclusion we come to, we'll try to minimize your exposure. Again, I know this is a lot to take in."
Y'all don't use stairs as like a backup if like something goes wrong.
There is, but all of you have already been walking for the last, and he goes to check a watch that he's clearly not wearing. 2 days uninterrupted.
Well, I guess in the future, unless you wipe our memory and kick us out, we'll just stick to the stairs.
He kind of gives.
I'm with Caleb.
You can't see his expression, but he does kind of give a bit of a bow. He does seem to feel genuinely bad, but not a whole lot he can do about it.
Because we can always blindfold him. Maybe that'll help.
No.
I mean, it's not really the view, it's just the feel.
Not really how it works, I'm afraid. All right, come on, one last ride.
That's
Very
all
like
Caleb
uneasy.
finds himself a rail to hold on to.
Yep. I imagine like Lucian and Caleb are just like elbow linked into the side of the elevator.
Come on, it's fun.
No,
It
not
feels
fun.
like falling.
It does.
Oh.
It's fun. Adrenaline.
Mhm.
I don't think it didn't really feel like falling last time.
I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
It's like falling up.
It makes you feel like you're gonna fall over.
Yeah, it will like I'm going to throw up.
Well, if you do it that way, please.
What's your type of
I
Matthew?
don't say anything, but like if I do throw
Oh,
up,
nothing.
I'm gonna throw up right on him.
I just heard you
Constitution check.
typing though, Matthew.
And I'm
Someone
I'm
taking
taking notes.
notes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you all step into the familiar box. The doors shut. And this time, however, you do not see the handprint. There's simply an array of numbers. However, you do see that those of you who do not understand Elvish just see gobbledygook, but those of you who do recognize it as a very simple series of numbers in Elvish.
I can
Uh,
watch. I can memorize what he does.
I mean, it looks like he's. I think it means like an
I'm
elevator.
just gonna
but-
watch.
Yeah. He kind of glances to you, but gives a shrug and hits the 1 and steps back with his hands crossed as you feel that same kind of bad
back to-
stomach vibe.
I go back to my thing and just hold on.
So, are you watching now?
Are these numbers? Are they for floors?
Yes. Top floor is for people in command or of particularly high rank. Second floor is simply where those who do not stay in the barracks, those of higher rank or important prisoners and VIPs stay. Third floor is just supply storage. Fourth floor is classified. And fifth floor is the area we just went through.
Nice.
I take time to memorize it.
The captain crosses his arms, and this one doesn't take too long at all. The doors open again, and you all find yourself in a what appears to simply be a hallway. However, Caro, you and Garo are delighted to see more of that foam material.
Oh,
You all step out, led by Voter and Neon. Neon, you know that this is the office of the commissioner. And as you all head down the hallway, you see several other doors leading off to different areas, but Voter escorts you all past those to one door that appears to be open with some light shedding out into the hall. And as you all step through, you find yourself in a large, simple, square office. Or at least what we would identify as an office. You see a small pot with some mushrooms growing out of it. The room is lit up with that same kind of artificial lighting. And the while there is some seats that appear to be made of a very comfy material and a table, you can see across the room, almost dividing it in half, the foam gives way to more tile, and you see a circular table, but with one area for people to get in and out, with some supplies and machinery on said counter, being manned by the largest elf any of you have ever seen. Wearing the Peacekeeper uniform, you see this not massive in the sense of muscle, but just big, round.
the fattest elf you ever did see.
And you see a almost mane of very well kept long red hair tied into a ponytail that's flung over his shoulder, but wearing a simple cap over it. And you see their face appears to be slightly matted with sweat. They're, all things considered, fairly attractive for an elf. as they look up to all of you and give a very warm, almost jolly expression, looking at Neon and Voter. But then their gaze falls onto all of you, and his expression kind of crinkles and narrows, almost instinctual suspicion, as Voter holds up a hand to get his attention, and gives a salute, and Neon, you do the same, as Voter gestures to this elf looking at all of you. This is Commissioner Morium. I will expect you all to pass on everything you were planning to tell me to him. And you see Commissioner Morium kind of look at all of you and to Voter as he kind of leans forward and says, Captain, do you care to explain? As Voter gives a nod and says, of course, but I do believe something takes priority. And he pats your machine, Neon, as he says, Cadet Neon performed beyond expectations. Kept their calm, was reasonable to the suspects when it called for it, and provided much needed backup and keeping more eyes on my back than I could normally provide on my own. I do think that the cadet has certainly passed their field test, don't you agree? And you see that the commissioner seems to almost want to disagree, but as Voter continues talking, his expression kind of slackens, and he gives a very slow nod. Yes, of course. But we need to get this out of the way first. Of course, I just wanted to be sure Officer Neon would have the right to give you the field report instead. And they step aside and kind of kneel down to you, or rather to your machine, Neon, as they say. You think you can handle that?
Yes, I think so.
All right. And they kind of pat the back of your mech as they cross their arms behind their back and step back to allow you to speak as the commissioner finally looks directly at you.
So what we discovered is that the, what's it called, Matthew? I forget, the robot.
Security droid.
Okay, I thought it had a special name. The security droid had malfunctioned under the light of the sun, and its AI no longer recognized either of us, so it had been attacking people. Our new friends here, gesturing to the groups, kind of moving the robot's head in their direction, appear to have attacked it in self-defense. They've been more than cooperative this whole time, and aside from a few arguments between them, they've been nothing but kind.
By either of you officers' judgment, do you think they're a threat to this city or to the troops of Tradu as a whole?
I don't believe so, and even if they were, I don't imagine they'd be able to cooperate enough to get anything major done.
Oh, is that a challenge?
Lucian kind of covers her mouth.
For once, our inability to get along worked out for us.
Like I said, they argued with each other most of the time.
I
Process
see.
of time.
Neon, make me a persuasion check.
That I can do. Give me a moment.
Is he good at persuasion?
I hope so.
Well, I'm not terrible at persuasion. It's I'll tell you, it's not in the negatives.
Is it in the positive though?
No, that's not important.
Oh, no.
I got a 16.
Yeah.
Hey.
The commissioner kind of leans back as they kind of look over all of you and glances. They glance to the captain as the captain almost instinctually responds, I can indeed corroborate Officer Neon's story. I just figured they were more fit to present it than I. Make more of a case for their promotion. Yes, of course. And he leans forward and looks specifically at you, Gil. Why are you here?
It's a bit of a long story, but let's just say my dad was not very happy with me, so I left.
Well, I hope it's not too long of a story, because even if my officer's story holds true, I still need to know how you found this city and what you plan to do with the information, as well as anything pertinent that we might need to know.
Honestly, it was a mistake. Like we didn't mean to find it. We were just curious.
We just saw symbols on like pillars and tried to figure out what
We
they
figured
did.
out the puzzle. It was a puzzle.
All right, come on, sit down. It sounds like this is going to take some time. And he gestures to the comfy-looking seats and couches gathered around the table.
All right, I take a seat.
Is there enough space for everybody to take a seat?
Yeah, he seems like, you're all still technically suspects, even if the officers have vouched for you. So the commissioner wants to hear your story directly.
Is there space for everybody to sit?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe we'll sit, I guess. Well, I mean, Caleb will sit.
Where do you want us to start, Commissioner?
All right. Caro and Garo? Just seeing what everyone's doing. And Raccoon sits between Lucian and Caro. And Caro, you can feel Garo starting to immediately knead into the material of the couch behind you.
Oh.
As
probably tearing it up.
Yeah, very much so. The commissioner stands up and starts stepping around the counter and approaching the gathered party. But as they, it seems like they almost just process Garo's presence and say, "What is that animal doing in here?"
It's part of our group.
Oh, he's fine. Right, Garo?
It's destroying my couch.
Oh. Garo, you can't do that.
Garo kind of tilts their head to the side, almost seeming confused.
No. Oh, you can't lead right now. I'm sorry.
Garo kind of gives a grouchy noise and eventually sits and just kind of lean, basically lays their head on your shoulder, just irritated.
No.
Give kind of a chuff.
Commissioner, he's just a cat.
Anyway, first things first. How were you able to destroy our security droid?
It was actually
we
pretty
fought
easy.
it. Your officers have our weapons, and some of us are magic casters, like myself.
Guessing we can attribute the performance loss to the damaged chassis and programming. All right, and after that, how did you find your way into the city?
Well,
there were these symbols on pillars, and we figured out what they did.
It was a puzzle. We figured out the puzzle.
You see him glance over all of you, but once his gaze falls on Lucian and Gil, and you see his gaze more specifically flick to their elvish ears before he gives a nod. Okay. And what were the circumstances of you being placed under arrest by the Peacekeepers?
You were walking here, we stopped to take a rest, and we woke up, and there they were.
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
They found us. Well, actually, there was this voice that said that there was going to be some peacekeepers that was going to meet with us.
Some
and
voice.
We don't know what there was this little voice. It was like, "Hello," and we were like, "Hello," and she was like, "Yeah, there's going to be these people who are going to meet up with you." So.
All right.
I mean, it wasn't
we don't
that
have time to explain the concept of AI to surface dwellers. Okay. And he kind of pinches the bridge of his nose, kind of basically just putting everything together in his head. And eventually...
this guy wanted something on us.
Well, I mean, You already
Pretty
gave it
much
to
we
him.
found it by dumb luck.
Tom left.
Eventually, he kind of leans back a bit and glances to Neon and Voter and says, "And by either of your judgment, you're certain they're not a threat to our organization or the city itself?"
I'm certain.
As am I. I do think it may be prudent to keep an eye on them, but I wouldn't call them a threat necessarily. More danger to themselves than anything else.
You're not wrong.
It is probable.
This trial is just going to turn into us roasting the group.
Eventually,
And their hair.
Yeah. Eventually, the commissioner crosses his arms and glances to Voter specifically as he says, "Well, this seems like a fairly open and shut case, not something you need to concern me directly with. Normally it wouldn't be, but while they are not a threat to the city, they have information that they seem to think may be." And the commissioner turns his attention back to all of you, and you can see his nostrils kind of flaring a bit as Voter says, "Please share everything you were willing to share with me and leave nothing out.
Okay.
We have machinery that
so,
can force the truth out of you if we get the impression you're being dishonest."
I got a question, Commissioner. What do you know of the going-ons up above?
I spend all my days down here. It's not any of the concern of the soldiers what goes on the surface. That's for the cultists to concern themselves with.
Well, there's a few things that are going on right now up there that pretty important.
Track of threats on the surface if you don't ever scout it or anything.
We do scout it for obvious threats, like I said, cultists, but they've told us nothing of an immediate threat to us.
Well, that's probably because they don't know. There's a few things that are going on. You guys will be really happy to hear that Kyogre's not doing that good. Because fuck those guys, right?
That much we were aware of, yes.
So do you guys know anything of a person named Ampere Colum?
The Kyogran scientist.
The very same.
How is he doing
He's
these
still
days?
alive.
Oh, did you know that he's alive?
He was alive last we checked.
Well, let's just say that he has involved himself in a pretty big organization. I think he is one of the main people in this organization. That they're trying to do things. We're not really sure what they're trying
They're
to
trying
do.
to take over the country.
They each have their own agendas. This is from inside information from them. They have their own agendas, but
How'd you get inside information on these people?
My dad is in their group.
well,
And we've had a few run-ins with them.
well, also, I'm not going to lie. When somebody I am very close to is in it, and I managed to persuade them to give me some information.
Your story seems to hold its weight, more or less, but just to be sure, Captain? Yes, Commissioner, of course. And he gives you a reassuring nod, Neon, before stepping out of the room. You can hear the door shut behind him as the Commissioner says, "He is simply fetching the machinery to confirm that all of you are telling the truth. We can't be too careful. Now,
I can do you one favor though. I have a spell that I can do that can basically make us tell the truth.
Well, make it.
It would be within your control, whether we know for sure or not."
And well, that's true, I guess. It's just a thing that I thought I would offer.
Rest assured, the
what's it gonna
process is
cost?
completely painless.
We'll take any test that y'all think necessary.
I wonder why you don't just use it automatically.
The reason I bring up Dr. Peter Colum is there is somebody that was mentioned, a woman, and I have some concerns that she may be doing some things upstairs too.
He kind of bites his lip a little bit and gives a nod. Okay. And he glances to you, Caleb, and gives a bit of a smile. I know you're a bit young to understand, but it's not the way we do things to bring in people who are suspected of a crime and immediately strap them to machines to get information out of them. The only reason I'm doing it here is because while I do believe you, I'm more concerned about you omitting information than anything else.
Of course.
Well, I will say that if you need an assessment of this group's danger, they've already destroyed one city.
Easily.
Not helping us, but I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
Well, this group that we're talking about, not us.
Yeah, the group. That's what he said.
Oh. So you meant
You
like
need to listen.
Not
Hey,
us.
relax. You said the group. There's two groups involved.
I said the group that we are talking about.
The group involved.
Because no one said their name yet, by the way.
Yep, I know. I'm waiting.
They're called the Scar Concord.
The commissioner crosses his arms and gives a nod and seems to be just more focused on intaking the information. And
They
What was
are
the city that they've destroyed?
Mercurial, the capital of the Humor Empire.
Yeah.
But,
Caleb would be like, the Scar Concord has already destroyed the city of Mercurial.
actually, it was because the Father Khan openly admitted that he did not care about his subjects.
He was part of it, though.
Yes, he is in
So
the,
they
he
destroyed
is
the
in the
city.
Star Concord. I have a list of people in the Star Concord if you would like a list.
He gives a nod. As the captain's already told you, likely several times on the way here, anything you can give us will be prudent. Although the captain should be returning soon with the device, but first things first, I will accept your input on the matter. With what you've already seen of this city, and you've seen nothing of what we're capable of defensively yet, do you think that these people are a threat to our people? Because the goings-on of the surface don't concern us.
I don't know. To be honest
They
with you,
could.
Commissioner,
They would have the potential to be, because they may
they are
not
very
fight you.
potential.
They
They are-
do not destroy by attack. They destroy from inside.
And here's the thing, though: the people in this group, the Scar Concord, they have all of the spearheads of certain countries from up above, like big spearheads of big countries. So
From what I've
perhaps
seen, though, this place seems like, especially with only having a few ways to get in, I don't think even every country on the surface could attack this place.
no, but I do think that there is some possibility that they could be a threat to
Their threat to you
know,
would be more something if they got inside.
yes. Which
Well,
of course,
or-
you know,
You're also forgetting one other thing. They could also be a threat if they found all the entrances and were able to close them off.
but here's the thing, though. I think, you know, Dr. Colum, you know, definitely would have a field day here. And so would Dr. Knight, I think.
The threat would be mostly if they are already in. And then
Think
the city
if they're
destroyed
already
from
in.
inside instead of from outside.
If this woman that is a part of the Scar Concord is the same woman that is here, then, you know, I guess that is a part of the design. But I don't know. It's just something is not sitting right with me.
Oh.
The commissioner just kind of quietly mulls all this over as you hear the door open up again, as Captain Voter steps in carrying a what appears to simply be a simple like rectangle of metal, but as he puts it on the table, he looks to you, Lucian, and holds up what appears to be almost a sort of glove, but made specifically for the fingers. And you can see that the fingers are connected to this box through wiring, and you can see
that kind of thing.
a series of buttons on the box itself as he holds the basically the opposite of a fingerless glove out to you, and says, almost kind of quietly under his breath, Captain Voter says to you, Lucian, I think the commissioner will trust the information the most coming from you, but I do still implore you to be honest.
Of course. I will go ahead and give him my hand.
All right. Would you please make me a wisdom saving throw?
Yes.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Let's do this wisdom saving throw. Oh no. Natural 4, so 11.
Okay. You put on the sort of glove, and you can see one of the buttons begins to glow a green color as Voter steps back to stand alongside Neon. And the commissioner leans forward and says, okay, starting from the beginning, tell me everything you know. Now, I will say to so that you guys don't have to run through the whole thing if you don't want to. Lucian, if you wish, you can just say basically what information you choose to share, and if there's any information you want to attempt to omit.
Okay.
Just so you don't have to
I'll
cover
start
like
with,
26 sessions worth of content.
I guess she'll take a deep breath and she'll start with, my name is Lucian Emily Elafikir. I am 179 years old.
I don't think they need to know that.
Anyways,
I love that they care about base questions.
And then she'll go into she'll tell them about the Ichor beasts that they found in Perha. And then she'll tell about how the president there basically basically everything that has happened between Perha and the party.
Okay.
And then when we get to the party, I'll be like, oh yeah, I found my brother, or he found me, and she just like basically spills everything. She's
Okay.
like, completely honest about everything.
Okay. The button remains a bright green color, and the commissioner kind of glances to it every so often, but you can see him kind of visibly sweating as the story gets to the more intense parts before finally wiping his brow as you finish your story and kind of catch your breath. And Neon, you and Captain Voter are just sitting there incredulous as you hear what the machine is indicating to be a completely truthful story of this group slowly assembling over time to fight a combination of like unheard of demons and one of the biggest scale political conspiracies ever conceived.
And then I will give them all the names of I'll be like, oh yeah, my brother gave me all these names, Dr. Knight, Barbara Sergo, give them the whole spiel of who's in the Scar Concord, and then she'll like
Including
add
her brother.
which there's the person's in charge goes by Our Lady. I think she's like some lady in white. I might have seen her in a dream once. I don't know. She's like saying all this in the same breath.
Yeah.
So you told them that your brother's involved?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
She's being completely honest.
Yep.
The commissioner glances over. You can see his attention turns to you, Gil, whenever she mentions your father being involved. Glances to Caleb and Zephyr whenever your father is mentioned to be involved.
Not entirely on his own will, though.
Well, yeah, more just, but he's more just
like if she tells the whole story, they also know that they may have done something to him as well.
No, yeah, I'm more just pointing out that like you can see his attention turning to all of you, which is
I don't know if he's being suspicious because because it started like you started mentioning how we are related to a lot of people in this group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see what the commissioner says. Eventually, keeping the machine on you, Lucian, as you catch your breath, he gives a deep breath and says, "Okay. Well, you have the approval of unfeeling technology and of some of my best officers. So I will ask you, while I can still coax the truth out of you for sure. A lot of you seem to have personal involvement in this matter. Do any of you feel like you will have a conflict of interest acting in defense of us or the world at large from my understanding of this, if it came to a head and you were forced to fight?
I would kill my father in a heartbeat.
I would do
The
this.
look on Lucian's the look on Lucian's face is of confusion because she doesn't know how to answer. I'll be completely honest with you, Commissioner. I love my brother more than anything or anybody I've ever loved in my life. But if I absolutely had to, I would.
He holds up a hand, and to your surprise, actually gives you the first smile he's given the party since you all walked in, and said, "Please be calm. Death and destruction is not the way of the Peacekeepers. It's not the way we do things down here. All I'm asking is if you would be willing to subdue them in the defense of yourself or others."
Oh yes. If I needed to 100% had to, in self-defense only.
Self-defense. For others, probably not.
Shut up, Gil.
It wasn't even Gil that time.
No, I heard he said shut up. He said drat.
I said
He
drat.
did say something in the
Okay.
background, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just funny to Zephyr.
No.
The commissioner kind of gives a bit of a smirk as he steps back as the light continues to stay green, as he crosses his arms and says, "Well, can't exactly make peacekeepers out of you with an attitude like that, but at the very least you've proven you can be more or less trusted." And he kind of thinks for a while and eventually looks to you, Neon, and Captain Voter, and says, "They're free to go, although they are your responsibility, especially if they get themselves into trouble."
Understood.
Well, we appreciate you passing this information on. I'll make sure the general hears about it immediately. What are you all planning to do next now that you're down here? You're not prisoners, so you're free to leave if that's what you want, but the captain and newly promoted officer will have
Question:
your ceremony
Am
soon.
I still hooked up to the thing?
Yes.
Okay. Lucian will just kind of like brighten up. Oh, I cannot wait to get my hands on some books and maybe some like. Do you guys like enchanted things here?
We don't typically deal in the realm of magic, but there is quite the array of advanced technology for you to partake in if you have the funds for it.
Well, we're
Do
definitely
we get that
interested in
equipment
some
back?
rest.
Yeah, we need our things because like we're probably gonna go back up to the surface because we've got some things to do. I have to go see Queen Sun Dragon for some things, but I would be interested in maybe borrowing some books.
He kind of gives a very slow nod, but you can see his eyes become a little uncertain and unfocused. And but as Gil, you mentioned, or as most of you mentioned, the equipment. He kind of gives a nod. "Oh, of course. Officer Neon, if you would, please return their belongings to them."
Right. I break all their No, I'm kidding. I give them back.
All right. So you all.
Oh my
Leave it
god,
Jacob's
again!
signature humor.
You all receive your weapons and armaments back as the commissioner looks to you, Lucian, and you see his gaze.
Is my musket still broken, by the way?
Yes.
Did I grab a new one?
It is still broken, but as Voter is helping Neon distribute the equipment, he kind of looks over the broken mechanism and says, "It's a bit primitive, but we could arrange to have this repaired for you."
Ooh.
Primitive.
You were going to say something to me, Commissioner?
Yes, sorry. I know it's not something I'm proud to admit, but our organization is sometimes forced to deal with some questionable people to keep order. The city's large and the Peacekeepers few, especially because we're distributed all over the continent. But I know you were looking for books, but from what I've been able to pick up from your story, I think more what all of you would like is information. And Neon, you kind of almost feel an instinctual queasiness as you kind of pick up where he's going with this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're if that's okay with you, I mean, information is great.
I will warn you
Information is
that
power.
if this is a direction you want to go, your trip to the surface is not going to be nearly as quick as you're probably hoping. Down in Lower Edict, there's a family calling themselves the Brokers, and Mr. Vuri, gesturing to you, Gil, noticed his distinct omission of your actual title as he gives you a nod and says, you say that, well, a lot of you seem to think that just because we live down here that we're totally ignorant, and while most of us don't concern ourselves with what isn't important, that's because, as I said, there's some who keep track of those things for us and make sure the important people know the important information. There's an old saying, and Neon, you can almost quote it verbatim as he says it. If two people in Yav know something, so do the brokers. If any of you have questions you need answered or information you're seeking, even the books we have down here may not be able to help, but if the information exists, the brokers have it.
And then I think that is the first place we need to go. This commissioner is very, very helpful. Thank you.
Don't thank me yet. They're not willing to part with that, as you said, and he gestures to you, Gil. Information is power, and they firmly support that belief. They're going to ask you for something in return. The offer you can't refuse sort of variety.
Of course.
Oh, I guess I shouldn't expect anything less.
I'm sorry. There's only so much I can do. Even the Peacekeepers, as you probably saw on the way in, are unfortunately just as subject to the politics down here as you are to the politics above.
Would
Fair.
it be civilization without it?
I suppose not. Obviously, I can't go with you, and I need Captain Voter at my disposal, especially we'll need to conduct a search, make sure that nobody fitting the descriptions you gave us is down here or in any of the other cities. I'll have to contact the general, make sure he contacts the other generals.
What about
Is there no
Officer
central
Neon?
leader for all these cities?
Can you come with us, Neon? And maybe you can, help us not get lost.
I suppose that's up to the commissioner.
He holds up a finger to basically indicate to wait as he looks to you, Caleb, and gives a smile, almost seeming like he kind of appreciates educating a younger person as he says, we felt that was part of the failings of our relatives on the surface. So we have 3 leaders, 1 for each city, and we will unite when it calls for it, but keep ourselves separate when it doesn't. That way, one weakness doesn't slow down the whole.
So do they vote on things or something?
Whenever they can agree with each other long enough, yes. He kind of gives a bit of a smile.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And he looks to you, Neon, and gives a nod. Actually, I was going to suggest that myself. We'll have your ceremony tonight, but functionally speaking, you're an officer now, and consider this your first assignment. While they're not suspects anymore, I think we'll elevate them to VIP status. They've given us information that's going to likely alter the course of the troops of Tredu for quite some time, at least for the foreseeable future. And from the sounds of it, some of these people are likely looking for them. And I'd rather one of our own be there to protect them.
That reminds me of something, Commissioner. From the Sydney of Agnan, it was pronounced Agnan, right?
Ogden.
Ogden. The city of Ogden is where we first heard about the bandits that were kind of living in your incense spot, and I don't know how to put this, but like
They weren't part of y'all, were they?
yeah.
He shakes his head. No, not every deserter is one of our own. We reviewed the security footage whenever the droid gave us an alert that Scorched Earth protocol had been activated, and the deserters had simply been avoiding it for quite some time, letting its patrol paths not intersect with theirs and vice versa. They simply chose not to directly engage with it, and they had no idea we were down here.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Well,
Because
that's good.
except for one.
The reason that we were even in Sunspot and the whole reason we were there is because they had said that some people had gone missing, but Officer
Voter.
Thank you. Voter had said that they were from here.
Yes, that's as Captain Voter likely explained to you. That's how we get supplies from the surface. Simply have caravans gather supplies and then find the nearest entrance and take it.
Right. Well, the only reason I only wanted to bring that up was because I wanted to make like double sure, because like I have to report that to a lieutenant to be like, hey, I'm not gonna say like where they are, I'm gonna say like, hey, the people who you're looking for is okay, and that's it.
That's it.
If I'm hooked up, he'll know I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
They are alive.
Sure enough, he glances to the still green light of the machine and gives a slow nod. All right. And he kind of steps.
How important it is to keep this place safe, I think it's great here.
And he kind of steps forward, and he's not a overly physically intimidating dude at a glance, but as he kind of almost looms over you, and you can kind of looking closer at him, while he does appear to just be fat, it's a lot of it is just heavy. Like he's got like a power lifter build as he steps forward and looks over you. As he steps forward and looks you over and says, I don't think you understand quite how important it is. And again, I'm trusting the functions of our technology and the word of my men that you're going to keep our secret, but rest assured, I can easily, and he kind of like leans on the table in front of you, easily place you back on the wanted list the moment you prove that I need to. I don't want to have to do that, ma'am, but I will.
I don't think that's necessary, Commissioner.
But it's understood.
Not necessary, but then it is. I understand completely. And trust me, I will just say, hey, your people are fine, and that's it.
Okay. And he kind of straightens out his uniform a bit as he looks over all of you. Well, allow me to formally now welcome you to the city. Is there anything the Peacekeepers can do for you before I don't want to come across like we're just kicking you out on your coattails after putting you through all this trouble?
I do have another question.
Yes, Caleb, was it?
Yes. Is there difficulties here for people who aren't elves?
He kind of purses his lips a little bit, and you see him kind of glance to Neon before glancing back to you as he eventually says, nothing that can't be overcome.
So, yes.
Because I noticed that, like, The way to get into this place only an elf can do.
Well, at least the entrance that we know of, but it seems that
Well, no, like literally the entrance and the way up into the higher city.
but does seem like a place for elves, probably made by elves.
He gives a nod. Yes. As I said, the difficulties can be overcome. I won't say that it's easy, but it can be done. And Officer Neon here is the living proof.
That's good. I think the other thing that I have concerns of is because you guys told us that you guys don't like deal with money, and
Sorry, completely slipped my mind. Officer Neon, after tomorrow morning, after we'll have your ceremony tonight, you all can stay in the barracks for the night, as you'll likely have difficulty finding lodging otherwise. And Officer Neon, at that point, would you be willing to take them to the nearest bank and having their material wealth converted into something more helpful?
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you.
then we'd have to convert it back whenever we
Yep.
leave.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna do that.
He kind of steps back and crosses his arms as he looks over all of you and says, "All right, if there's nothing else I can do for you, Officer Neon and Captain Voter will show you to your lodgings for the night. And I apologize again for the trouble, but I think you now understand how important it is to keep this place a secret. What Gyogre would do if they found out we were down here, the things other empires would do to acquire our technology."
I don't even want to think about it.
Again, I don't think all of them combined could actually do anything to you.
Well, we don't want to take the chance. We aren't, as I said, we're not killers. We're not warmongers. We simply have found a better way of doing things and intend to keep the secret to avoid dealing with fighting others for it. But you're welcome to partake as long as you're not a threat to us or do not spill information to the surface. And on the topic of information, Officer Neon, you know where to take them tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And you all be careful. And if you feel like the brokers are being unreasonable, then there's only so much I can do, but make sure word reaches me, and I'll see what I can do. I don't make any promises, but I want to do everything I can. This is a serious threat, and unfortunately my hands are more tied than I'd like to admit, but I can still fight if it comes down to that. I'm not that old.
Honestly, I think I'd like to see that. You're really, you're a big guy.
He gives a smile. Well, ma'am, I didn't become commissioner by sitting on my laurels all the time. And he kind of pats his desk. That just came after I got the job. And he kind of pats his stomach.
Oh, what a card!
I love him.
Yeah. Neon, you do kind of pick up. It's very much that boss humor, like kind of very. It's genuine, but also simultaneously artificial. But he does seem well-meaning enough. He gives you all a nod and says, "Thank you for your honesty and for making sure this information reached us. Rest assured, the general will be told post-haste, and the first thing he'll do is pass it on to the other generals."
And let your general know that if he wants to speak with us or wants to hear it from the horse's mouth, I personally would be glad to come up here and talk to whoever needs to be talked to.
Of course, and honestly, he very well may take you up on that, but I'll try to negotiate to give you all some time. Whatever the brokers are going to ask you for is not going to be easy, so I'd recommend going in prepared.
Could I ask perhaps what they might ask for?
He kind of drums his fingers on his desk, just standing on the opposite side of it, not in the seat fully yet, as he looks over his shoulder at all of you. They, like I said, are almost akin to a cult. They believe information is the most valuable thing in the world, above credits, above gold, above life. And they will do anything they can do to obtain it and to keep it. They don't share something that valuable lightly. They're not going to ask you for money, I can almost guarantee you that. And no matter how much you offer them, it won't make a dent. They're going to want something for something, either information for information, or more likely, as I highly doubt any of you possess information they don't already, a favor for a favor.
That does not sound favorable. And Lucian kind of laughs.
Not for you.
They sound like the kind of people that, like, you have never seen them before, but they'll somehow know everything about you.
That's exactly what they are. I don't know how they do it myself, but like I said, if two people know it, then so do they.
I think I know a group like them from my home.
Perhaps they're connected.
If
I
they
hope
know
not.
so much, how come this is the first time y'all are hearing about this Dark on court?
He raised a hand and says, as I said, they don't part with their information lightly. The only exception is if they feel that there's an existential threat to the city, which would affect them and their information by extension. So they likely know about it, but just haven't deemed it a high enough level threat to warrant giving up something so valuable.
Or they don't want you to know of its threat.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking too.
Who knows?
That is a possibility, but if they're involved in this conspiracy, and he kind of bites his lip a little bit, that's not a possibility I want to entertain right now. If the brokers are working with them, then they could have any information on anyone in the world.
Well, is it something that you can risk not thinking about?
I'll take it under consideration. But regardless, we won't get anything out of them without doing them a favor. There are a lot of things, strange, obsessive, manipulative, but one thing I will give them is that they're straightforward. They're not the type to double deal or dip into falsehood. So, if possible, I know all of you have your own information to seek, and whatever favor they're going to demand you in exchange will likely be, well, demanding. But if possible, perhaps you could use that to your advantage. You can't do a favor for them and not get information in return, so perhaps you can coax them into revealing anything they may know.
It's wise. That's very wise advice, Commissioner.
I don't plan to do a favor for them. We'll see.
Though, I have one more question.
Yes?
How would we go about getting better equipment?
He crosses his arms and kind of furrows his brow a bit and says, as much as I do think it would be for a worthy cause, I can't freely part with Peacekeeper equipment. But you are free to, once your money has been converted, make any purchases in town that you see fit. You'll find that our technology is a far sight better than smoothbore rifles and longbows.
Any places you might
It's technically not a rifle if it's not rifled.
The smoothbore rifle, my favorite sort of rifle, really. And he kind of pats his stomach.
I was saying that out of character, but still. Caleb doesn't know what a rifle is. So.
Nobody does.
They probably have like freaking like bolt actions or some shit.
Is there anything else that you want from us?
No, you've given us just about everything I can think of. Were you going to say something, miss? And he looks to you, Caro.
Caro just has been kind of looking between the people in the room and has been thinking, maybe this is a bit mean, but Are humans and elves related or something?
Depends on who you ask, but on the surface, no.
Different species. Two different,
Let's
way
see.
different species.
Way different. In
Way different.
Well, elves live longer. We're smarter, stronger, better
stronger.
looking.
Look how y'all are insulting Caleb in a sentence.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
says
we're
that
using
Caleb's the
between-
only
Oh my
human in
goodness!
this
I
party.
forgot he was human.
And
Sarah's just looking between Caleb and all the elves, just like question mark, question mark, question.
yeah,
You
and
just need to brush your hair, that's all.
and Gil, as you're talking, the commissioner is just kind of nodding along, like, mm-hmm.
Agree.
And glancing to you, Zephyr, the commissioner actually addresses you and says, "Well, if you don't intend to complete a favor for them, I had been under the understanding that you all were traveling together. What do you plan to do then, if I may ask?"
Well, I have a few ideas. Maybe I might have information that they might know. Who knows? Or maybe I don't know. I have a few ideas that I feel could possibly boost results.
He kind of gives a bit of a smile, and you see him kind of glance to everyone else and glance back to you before he kind of leans forward. He's not like going out of his way to hide it, but it's more he's more like kind of doing that almost like playfully telling a secret, but not actually going out of his way to make it secretive. As he says, "I get the impression you do a lot of the thinking for this group, do you?"
No.
No.
Sure.
He kind of gives a chuckle and pats you on the shoulder and says, "Well, like I said, the odds of any of you having information they don't is slim, but it is worth a shot." And while Officer Neon will report to me as per the norm, I certainly would appreciate if you all keep me as up to date as possible. Anything that the general may need to know is important to the protection of the city and to the others.
Well, now that I know you and that we've met, and if I ever come across something else in our travels, I'll remember you and I'll send you a message.
Thank
I
you,
can
ma'am.
do that. It's magic.
He gives a bit of a smile. "So can we." And he presses to his ear, and you can actually hear out of Neon's mech and Captain Voter's earpieces. "And this is technology."
That's the same thing that
Cool.
Dr. Kaloum has used.
Is it now? That is concerning.
Well, the thing is that when
What technology was it?
The
well,
earpieces.
when we were in the in the throne room or in the ballroom with the Skarkon Gord, he was talking into his ear like you just did now. So I'm wondering if he has the same thing.
The commissioner looks to Captain Voter, who kind of turns. He's just been kind of crossing his arms and leaning against the wall and like observing for most of this. But he kind of nods to the commissioner and says, "From what I remember of Dr. Kaloum, his genius is unparalleled. It's possible that he's figured it out on his own, but I wouldn't bet on it. No, neither would I."
I
look,
Do
saw him
you ever
talk-
have the realization that sometimes as a DM you are literally just talking to yourself?
Quite frequently.
I mean, not to
Sometimes that
like
happens.
not to disagree with you, Commissioner, but I mean, I saw him talk to my brother on something similar than you just did. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but it's something similar, I think.
Of course, that is the conclusion the captain and I had come to. And he
Maybe
kind of
something to a lesser scale.
scratches the back of his head and says, "Oh, I'm gonna need a drink to wade through this swamp of politics."
Oh,
Well,
you and me both.
I might enjoy it.
we'll get on it.
Turn screen on Lucian.
We'll get on it as soon as we can. And as for any recommendations, he looks to you, Gil, and says, "I don't have as much time as I'd like to be out on the town, but perhaps Officer Neon can show you around once you have some money to waste on blackjack and hookers."
What did he say?
Sounds good.
Once you have money to waste on blackjack and hookers.
Why?
What is blackjack?
Spend enough time in the lower district and you'll figure it out.
I bet it has something to
You know what I'm
do
gonna
with
have to do, Matthew?
gamble.
Yeah, roll history.
No, I was just gonna have
I was
Taylor
gonna say,
say,
could
"What
I?
the
Could
hooker?"
I?
Spend enough time in the lower district and you'll find out.
Could I roll history?
You're
Pretty
sheltered.
sure back in these olden times, they just
Yeah,
used to sound poor.
Yeah, like you're aware of the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Caleb, they're great. Get one.
He is 14, you dim-witted dope.
Nah, when I was his age, I was already at it.
It's different for you, Gil. You're an elf.
That's a different. It still
It's different for
doesn't change your age.
you.
Commissioner,
Somebody
Yes,
shake
miss.
me.
So, how about the Mets?
where have you been down here?
Me personally,
Yes.
I actually got transferred to this city. So I haven't been here too long. It's only been about 6 years now. But I've been an officer for the Peacekeepers for about 15 now.
15 centuries.
So
Caleb's just like, wow, 6 years is not a lot to an elf, but to me, that's like half my life.
Half your life.
might as well.
I guess
Sometimes-
for
sometimes-
14, so 6 would be like a little less than half. 6 years would be a little less than half his life.
That's not
his
true,
life. I was
Caleb.
thinking
Sometimes
as
the
a human
years
life.
drag. I mean, I'm 170, and I mean, sometimes the years just drag.
You're such a baby.
She glares at Gil.
And the commissioner looks to you, Caro, as he continues. I may not have as much experience as a peacekeeper as some of us, but I had the most military training coming in, so it was easiest for me to fall in line and work my way up through the ranks that way. Plus, Captain Voter's never been interested in having my job. And
Gil, are you
Voter,
familiar with this man?
referring to Voter?
Yeah. No, the commissioner.
Yeah. Well, I guess saying like to the commissioner referring to Voter.
Oh, okay.
He gives a bit of a smile as he says, about as familiar as he lets anyone be. He's been with us for quite some time now, and he kind of walks over, or more stomps more accurately, and pats him on the shoulder, and says, and in all that time, he's never let us down. One of the finest officers here.
So, Matthew, are we going to be going over 12:30, or because we started late?
We're about to wrap up.
Really?
I'm just double checking what we're doing. Because we started late, so I don't know what your plan was.
And he steps back and says, anything else I can help you all with?
No, you've been more than informative, and I really appreciate your advice about the brokers. Where exactly are they? They're in lower the district?
Officer Neon can show you exactly where to go, but you'll find them near the, and he kind of hesitates before putting in air quotes, docks.
Docks, like as in like a ship?
Well, it used to be.
That's interesting. Well,
But you're on
like
the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
there's underground grottos.
He holds up a hand. To clarify, they used to be docked. These
Oh,
cities didn't get down here through purely natural causes. I'm sure you can
Well.
put it together.
yeah. Well, I think I'm most interested in sleeping and finding, like, maybe exploring the city and then leaving.
Of course, I need to draft up my report to the general anyway. If none of you need anything else, I wish you luck, and keep me
So we
informed.
have to use another day of rations, by the way, Matthew.
As far as you know, yes. And he gestures, giving a light bow and salute to all of you, as he says, Captain Voter, be on your way. Officer Neon, while they're being shown to their rooms, I think it's time we discuss your promotion.
Yes, sir.
He gives a smile, and he goes to pat your mech, but you can actually feel the metal of the machine like creak slightly as he basically slams it with his hand, as he says, "Don't be so nervous, cadet."
I'll try.
And you
Mr.
all,
Commissioner,
Don't break it.
yes, miss.
maybe this will be a strange question, but you've been in the military for a while, yes?
My entire life.
So, have you ever dealt with kidnappings?
That is an odd question. Not personally, no, but I have overseen several cases like that as a peacekeeper. Why do you ask?
Would you like to?
What are the odds of the people kidnapped surviving?
Well, that depends on a lot of factors, miss. If you manage to secure them from where they are first abducted or close nearby, then the chances are respectable. But statistically speaking, at least, if they're taken to a secondary location, then their odds of returning are slim to none, I'm afraid. Pardon if it seems intrusive, but are you searching for someone?
Our entire party was kidnapped by the Star Concord. I came to this country to find them.
If you have the names, then I hate doing this and making you rely on people like them, but it's very likely that if they're alive, the brokers know where to find them. Again, if two people know it, so do they. Any information you want, they can provide. I don't want to make you do something dangerous to get the information you need, but I doubt with the resources of the Peacekeepers I could be much help to you on my own. So I'm afraid I have to relent on this one.
What if only one person knows something?
He gives a bit of a smile. In that case, you can rely on your brother's strategy of providing them that information, and you don't have to do them a favor.
Then likely that person is me. I just kind of laugh at my own joke.
What if the information they don't know is the two people that know the information?
You're thinking it, Caleb.
Yeah, he puts up a hand. Don't put. It's an old saying. You get my point. Anyway, I wish you luck. In the event that you do have to perform a favor for them, then stay safe. And I feel obligated, as long as I'm wearing this uniform, to say, don't do anything that's going to force me to come after you.
I will try not to.
We'll do all that we can to be model citizens.
I wish you luck, miss, on finding your friends.
Thank you.
And make sure your pet doesn't destroy any of my furniture, please.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, get off!
I'm sorry, you
Daryl's
see
just
Garrow
nodding
like
on a pillow.
getting like right as he says that, you just see Garrow's like about to start kneading on the couch.
Garrow kind of just like ducks behind the couch before like slinking to just like almost pout behind you, Garrow.
Wow.
It's okay. I'll get you a ball or something to play with.
Maybe they need a scratching post.
Get him some yarn.
All right, everyone, follow me. I'll show you to your
Giant yarn.
quarters. Let's leave newly promoted Officer Neon to their personal business.
Newly promoted.
Yep.
And as the group is filing out, Neon, you kind of glance and you see the captain kind of give you a thumbs up on the way out.
I give a thumbs up that, but like the herald smile,
Yeah.
like the one that says, "Oh God."
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the way out, I'm gonna
So
tell
is that
Neon,
where we are? Is that
congratulations.
that's where we were? Is Sir Matthew? Is
Yeah, well, give me some
that where
For it?
as you guys
You've got
are
something up your sleeve.
as you guys are filed out and Captain Voter shuts the door, leaving Neon presumably to be promoted and congratulated by the commissioner. The captain, with his hands still in his pockets, walks behind all of you, still seeming a bit stiff and formal, but at least visibly less like on duty now that you guys are basically allowed to kind of do whatever as long as you're being relatively supervised. As he says, unfortunately, to get to your rooms, it's going to be one last ride on the horrible sliding box. But
Not that again.
I'm afraid it's a feeling you're going to have to get used to if you intend to stay down here for a while.
What is this thing that you keep on making us go into?
You see the corners of the mask kind of turn up lightly as he says, well, I suppose I should explain to you the idea of elevators. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
I just love it. I love it.
I'm
Lucian's
gonna be
just gonna
honest
eat
with
all
you.
of
I
the
keep
information.
having this feeling something's not gonna go right with that.
Honey, you sound like
you
a
sound like
robot.
Far
you're
away,
like-
but I need just keep your thought in mind. I need to do the outro anyway. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Thanks all of you so much for playing. I hope everyone had fun. Your medieval party's adventure in a cyberpunk city begins.
I love it.
You have found the city of Edict, a high-tech underground city of elven deserters. However, there is some visible class and special divides here. And you have been told against the better judgment of the police commissioner that if you intend to seek some of the information that you've all been hounding for, that the best people to talk to are these mysterious brokers on the docks, a family slash cult that seems to possess just about any information someone could ask for. So as you're all taken to your rooms by the Peacekeepers, with Officer Neon now officially assigned to be your official police
Chaperone.
escort, chaperone and escort around the city, you all are ready to begin a new sort of adventure. And we'll see you all next week.